Wow. Fun.
Hi.
It's amazing. Oh my god, everybody's so cute and beautiful and oh.
Oh my god. Wow.
I'm literally just going through all the pages to see everyone's faces. Hi, hello.
You guys all look so beautiful. Wow. Hello.
Some people have really cool backdrops as well. I appreciate that. That's really cool.
Just in case you're muted, because I'm going to have to oops. Yeah, everybody's entering. Everybody's talking. Okay, there. Yeah, just in case you're muted, just you'll see the sign on your computer. So you'll just have to unmute yourself. Right now, I'm going to try to mute everybody because it looks like a lot of people are not muted. Yeah. That have just entered the room and.
Hello, Aldana. Hi. Aldana, I hope I pronounced it properly.
Oh, so sweet.
Hi, Sarita. Hello.
All right, so I did mute you all again. Could you please unmute yourself?
Cast.
Amy?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
No, people are just, please mute yourselves if you have entered the room. All right. So RH, Amy, I'm gonna ask you to unmute here. Yes, great.
Yep.
All right. Who else is there?
Hi. You come here. Delila's you're still muted.
Yeah, Dalila. Okay.
Hello.
Perfect. All right. All right. All right. So that's wonderful. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here this morning or this afternoon, this evening, if you're joining us from overseas. Thank you. My name is Ingrid Jean-Baptiste. I'm the founder and director of the Chelsea Film Festival in New York City, and that will celebrate its 8th annual edition this fall from October 15th to the 18th. Welcome to Chelsea Film Festival Talks TV series. It happens every Friday at 12 p.m. and it's co-hosted by my friend Amybeth. Today we're going to talk with the cast of Anne with an E, which was actually based on a 1908 novel called Anne of Green Gables. And if you have any questions, please use the chat box on Zoom, and the conversation is also broadcasted live on Facebook, so you can send your questions in the comment section. I don't promise that we can go through all your questions, but we will do our best to read them out loud so that you can get a personal answer during the conversation. I want to welcome our cast. I'm going to start with Geraldine James. She's joining us from England. She's a British actress. Her work is both stage and screen, and she plays the role of Marilla Cuthbert in Anne with an E. Anne with an E, I have to say, is a hit Netflix TV series. So if you're joining us today and you haven't watched it yet, you have to watch it after this show. You have the entire weekend. You have the time. Unfortunately, we're during a pandemic, so you have time. Unfortunately, you have time to watch it on Netflix. Our next guest is R.H. Thompson. He's also joining us from England. Thank you for, not Canada.
Yep.
Canada. And he is an acclaimed Canadian stage and screen actor. He's most recently, he also won the CSA, which is the Canadian Screen Award for Best Actor in a Featured Supporting Role in a Drama Series for the second year in a row. For his portrayal of, let me just mute everybody again, for his portrayal of Matthew Cuthbert in Anne with an E. And our next guest is Delilah Baelish. She is born in Montreal. Hi, Dalila.
Hi, everyone.
She was born in Montreal. She is joining us from Los Angeles. And her work has also been recognized by more than a dozen award nominations and wins, including the Canadian Screen Awards. I think the whole cast is an award-winning cast today. So, and last but not least, we have Amybeth Mcnulty. She's an Irish-Canadian actress born in Ireland. She is known for her starring role as Anne Shirley in the Netflix series Anne with an E, and she won Best Lead Actress Award at the 2019 CSA. Thank you all for being here. I want to welcome also Emma, who is our co-host. She is in Los Angeles right now, and she will be leading the conversation. She's an actor she's been an actor for the past 16 years. You've probably seen her in The Walking Dead, in Dallas, in the 5th installment of the Final Destination series. And now she is also a filmmaker and writer. And her most recent work is called Between the Pines, that has been selected in numerous film festivals across the country. And I'm going to hand it over to you. Welcome all in the Zoom room and Facebook. Thank you all for being here with us today.
Hi, everyone. And yes, I couldn't say that better. This is like very exciting to see all these beautiful, glorious faces of these young women. It just goes to show you how much we need content geared towards telling female stories. Am I right? Yes, I'm right. I know you're all you can't really speak to me. I just want to say you guys are all fans of the show. I am as well. And I just was able to talk to the cast a little bit before we got on this call, and they are as delightful in person as they are on the show. So I guess I'll just get started with my questions, guys. So as I was saying, this show, Anne with an E, is so relevant for today in so many ways. And it's something that a lot of, that we need in our industry, we need in our storytelling and our mythos. And so many women, especially, gravitate to these kinds of stories. Why do you think now was the right time? And anyone can answer this. I'd love to hear anybody's response. But why do you think right now, or, you know, I guess you guys started coming out in 2017, but in this time, why do you think it was time to retell Anne with an E?
Well, especially in this day and age, a lot of subject matters such as racism, feminism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, and so on and so forth. These are subjects that are widely talked about now in this day and age, and it almost gives you a different perspective, telling the story of Anne with an E, which takes place in like the 1800s, which those same subjects are talked about even then. They occurred then, and by showing the life that all these different characters from all these different walks of life led then, and all the subject matters that we are facing now, how they battled those problems as well back then, that can act as something rather eye-opening for, I hope, a lot of our viewers. What do you guys think, Amybeth, Geraldine, and RH?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think it just shows, although it's been a very long time, not too much has changed, which I think is incredibly unfortunate. And then the difference in how we dealt with those situations back then, and how we can be more at the forefront of those discussions. I think people are more open to it now. Yeah, it's becoming a big, strong point in the news and everything, which is incredible. And I'm really happy to be a part of that.
Agreed.
And I think there are things that were in the book originally that, looking at them again now, they sort of re-realized in the modern times. But there are also things that are in our show that aren't literally in the books, but are truthful to the books. And I think that was a great skill of Moira Walley-Beckett, our creator, original creator, to have foreseen that what has happened over the last couple of years for young women was going to happen. And she sort of clocked into that. And I think that's actually remarkable that she got that so right. And that we're very lucky to have had the audience we've had, that you've gone along with us and you've come along with us and come with the story where we branched away from the books. So that's been great as well.
And I will jump in here and also say it is the story of a misfit, of a young woman who is an outsider in a very patriarchal world. So we are also in a world where patriarchy, or especially toxic patriarchy, is needing to be moved past. And we see that all around us. So the story of a young woman who's a misfit, who lives in her intelligent imagination and has this compassion for all these different groups, is a way for Anne with an E to talk about all these subjects. Not from Anne for me is an anti-hero. She's not a heroine, she's an anti-heroine, and that gives her particular placement and power in the conversations that we need to have today.
That's really well said, and actually a great segue to another question, which is, you nailed it. Another theme of Anne with an E is this sense of belonging. You know, Anne is an orphan in her world, and sort of an outcast socially, and so she can sort of convince people to get on board with her way of thinking. But even the Cuthberts are both, you know, sort of different for their time as well, you know. So and Diana as well, you know, she's sort of the popular girl who probably, in terms of fitting into society, fits into society the best, but she's still, she wants to be more like Anne, and she wants to have people accept Anne, and that whole battle that young people go through, you know, daily when they go to school, of wanting to fit in but also wanting to be different at the same time. So, you know, you guys definitely touched upon this, but especially with everything that's going on, you know, I think it's really wonderful that we have shows like this that allow people to reflect on being different. And so I just wanted to hear more about, you know, how you think that is helping people today, given all of our current landscape, you know, the current landscape that we're in.
I mean, generally it's about being inclusive regardless of your age or your gender or your race, and I think that's something that's shown in our audience that watches the show. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of beautiful young women here, but I know that our audience is very varied. And I think it shows that everybody struggles with that. Everybody identifies with some character in the show to a certain degree. Which I think is wonderful and isn't always the case with every TV show. I think, yeah, it's just nice that a granddad could watch it with his grandchild and they would both relate to it in some way or another, which I think is really important.
It's also
I also want to say that it's also about independence, and that Anne's independent mind gets her bruises and bats, and she gets hurt and she gets ostracized, but she never relinquishes her independence. And it's that spirit inside her to see what she sees, to think what she thinks, no matter the kind of conventional forces around her, that I think especially now, as we're heading into all these racial questions, all these gender questions, here we go into climate change, we need independent of perception and thought and mind of action more than ever. And for it to reside in this one eccentric outlier character called Anne is a really powerful message, and I think helps people, as we're all going to be pressed by these forces. I mean, you see it on the streets everywhere now because of Floyd. It's that independence of mind that is really, really important.
Yeah, about finding also individuality and seeking out people who value that as well, and who value your idiosyncrasies and what makes you for you, and finding and encouraging that in everyone to be themselves, to strive for what they want, to fight for what they believe in. And that is what Anne with an E is all about. You know, you being yourself, you finding people who who are themselves and who love you for you and who want to help you fight for what is right.
And this story was written by a woman in the beginning of the 20th century, who, what was the world like when she was the voice that she was speaking through Anne. Is that how she was feeling about her life? One imagines so, and that's extraordinary to think she created this person who has allowed to come through the time since she wrote the book to now to still be that relevant is incredible.
Yes.
It is pretty incredible when you think about it. Of that time period, that turn of the century, there was a lot of female perspective that coming through. There was Emily Dickinson, there was the Bronte sisters, there was this story, and they all kind of had this very similar theme of women wanting independence, women wanting more freedom, women not wanting to just feel like they were stuck in the kitchen or just had to be wives, but really wanting to step into society as equals. And so you're right. It's incredible that 100 plus years we're still sort of in the same place in some ways. Whether you're a woman, whether you're a minority, whether you're gay, lesbian, trans, whatever that is, we are still battling these same issues. So even seeing it in the context of turn of the century Canada with a young girl, those themes are so relevant. And I just this is really not a question. This is me just saying, I'm so grateful that this show is around, and grateful to you guys for being a part of it and bringing in all these wonderful people who love it. So one of the other main themes, really important themes, I think, of this show is the idea of imagination and using your imagination as an escape, but also as a tool of education, for curiosity's sake, to explore both internally and externally. I just want to know, for all of you guys personally, we're all actors here, we're all creatives, but how has nurturing your own imaginations been instrumental to your own lives? Because I really do think it's something that I wish we did more of as a culture, is nurture that.
Well, it makes life more colorful, you see life and there are endless possibilities. You can write whatever you want, you can sing whatever you want, you can play whatever you want, act, and that freedom, that sense of anything is possible, it is amazing. And I feel like more people should cultivate it. More people should, if you're feeling sad, whatever, pick up your notebook, your guitar, your piano, your violin, your instrument, whatever it is, and just allow your imagination, your creativity to just pour out of you. That it's a form of catharsis, and it opens your eyes, and it's beautiful. Imagination, creativity is amazing.
Yeah,
we're incredibly lucky to have a job where you're actually encouraged and allowed to let your imagination fly, to use your imagination. There are a lot of people who are stuck in an office not being asked to use their imagination at all, who are having to dream all the time. We get to live out, if we're lucky enough, our dreams and our imaginations, and that's incredibly fortunate being an artist. And long may it continue. And things are looking quite tough at the moment for the artistic community, how it'll all pan out in the end of this, but I suppose we can stay at home. We've still got our imaginations. We can still dream.
Yes.
That's great. And I'm sure, Amybeth, for you too, playing such an imaginative character must be just so fun. Watching your performance, it's like you just get to be in dreamland all the time, and you get to really experience that. And so yeah, can you talk a little bit about stepping into Anne's shoes and being able to express that side of yourself?
It's been amazing. I mean, I'm just utilizing tools that I've had since I was 5, right? So I just get to continue to do that and just better myself in that regard. But Anne is such an incredible character to play because she's really implemented some incredible things in my life and in who I am, and just wanting to do better for me and for those around me. And she's taught me a lot. I mean, I started playing her at 14, and I'm 18 now, so I've grown up alongside her all these years. And it's beautiful to see her development in the script, and then in comparison to the things that I would go through, and the amount of times I'd read the script and go, oh, I went through that last week. All right, let's do that then. I think it's a wonderful form of expression that I'm really fortunate that I get to do in my life, and as a job. But I mean, yeah, I mean, the audition, I got invited in and asked to talk to flower beds and orchestrate like a panto with them, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna love this. This is fantastic. So it was yeah, an incredible role to play. I'm very fortunate.
Oh, I love that. I love that story. Usually auditions can be quite intimidating or overwhelming, but that sounds really fun to be able to like just use your imagination like that in your audition. That's awesome. Well, you do, and my next question is for both Amybeth and Dalila. Dalila? Did I say that right? Dalila. Dalila. It's a beautiful name. I've never seen it spelled that way. It's very beautiful.
Thank you.
So you guys have obviously grown up with these characters, as Amybeth just said, and you're both so young, and yet you've brought this incredible depth to both of your characters, which is really lovely to see. And I just wanted to know, like, what has been one of the best things about playing both Anne and Diana respectively, and what have being those characters taught you personally in your lives?
Go for it.
Sorry?
Go for it.
Oh, okay. Well, I think one of the main things that playing Diana has taught me, it's that there's a lot more to a person than meets the eye. You know, at first, sometimes, you know, you look at a person and you're like, wow, you know, they must have it all. They're perfect. But you don't know what they're going through. You don't know the internal struggle, the internal battle. Like for Diana, she looks like she has a picture perfect life. You know, she's rich, she's popular, you know, she's whatever. But inside of her, she's torn between following the path that her parents want for her, being a good girl, and breaking free and being herself. And it's that kind of battle she rarely ever shows. She keeps it all tucked inside, but no one ever sees. And except until, you know, Anne came along and actually opened her eyes and was there for her. But yeah, I think that was one of the main things that Diana taught me, is also is even if the world is telling you no, if you believe in yourself, if you want to do this, anything is possible. And yeah, I think those are some things that Diana taught me and that I loved about playing Diana. What about you, Amybeth?
I just think Anne's strength is so remarkable, and her intelligence, not just academically, but her emotional intelligence, really astounds me. And just with everything that she has, the empathy that she has for others and wanting to understand and wanting to assist and do what she can, is such a beautiful thing. And to be able to portray that is wonderful. Yeah, just with every battle that she's gone through, it's made her who she is, and she really accepts that, especially in season 3. And the march scenes in season 3, the protest, like, it really amps you up. Yeah, just taking every part of anything that's happened to her and just accepting it and moving forward, and it makes her stronger, which is, yeah, it's nice.
Well, that's a very that's great. That's something we could all learn. I could learn to accept things a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know. So that's really cool. Okay, so for Geraldine and RH, you know, your characters, as I touched upon before, are kind of black sheep of their own society as well, in a lot of ways. And I was just wondering, do you think that Matthew and Marilla were they born in the wrong century? Would they fare better today in a more modern time? Because I feel like there's so many instances where they're just so much more modern than the world around them.
I think they feel modern. I think they feel very part of their landscape and part of their, certainly for Marilla, she is the person she has become because she has had to become that person. I mean, it's a tough world. They grew up in, those two. And what was extraordinary about playing her was, given the space of the show, there was time for her to be revealed, to discover what she was actually like inside. And it's Anne who is the catalyst to that. If Anne hadn't turned up at Green Gables, they'd have been exactly the same at the end of season 3 as they were at the beginning of season 1. They wouldn't have changed. And I think they discover by being truthful to themselves, they suddenly go, oh, actually that is quite different from our society around us. I mean, all the racism issues that Marilla comes up against when she's looking after Bash's baby in the show. And I mean, that she's deeply offended, but it's not an idea. She doesn't think that's a racist comment. She just responds genuinely to it was a shopkeeper being rude to her. And she just says, I've been given this child to look after. I'm looking after this child in the name of God. Who do you think you are? And so we look at her and go, oh, good for you. She's thinking the right thoughts, but she doesn't know that. She's responding to the world as she sees it.
I also think the story of Matthew and Marilla is, as you look at all the older people in your life, and as one gets older oneself, one sees a lot of people just harden into what they think they are as they get older. They stop learning, they stop exploring, and they harden down into a thought of who they are about themselves. So inside the story of Matthew and Marilla, there's intense loneliness, there's intense misfit on the outside of the world. And even these two older people get disrupted by Anne's energy. And it opens things in them that they never, ever thought they would ever have in their lives. In this case, the love of a young woman and the love of a child that they never, ever thought, they thought was alien to them. So part of that story is certainly when I was 16 and 21, I looked at the older people in my life and went, oh yeah, there's great Aunt Flo, and oh yeah, there's great Uncle Jim. But they were kind of, oh yeah, they're the locked older people. But that's not the way that generation is at all. And part of the wealth of this story is to throw a disruptor from the heart and from the mind and the imagination, like Anne, to throw her into the staid world, the formed world, the patriarchal world, and have her kind of blow it up, as it were. And we watch her blow up the emotions in a very good way with both Matthew and Marilla, and they actually grow and become different people. And that's a rare story. When you get to when you're a younger actor or actress, you get to act that story a lot because that's a lot of youthful stories, but you don't get that further down the road. No. And I think that's a really unique thing about this story.
That's well said. And it's also just good to know the youth makes change, right? The youth comes in, as you said, disrupts, inspires, and creates change. So that's great.
It's really what the older people in our heads, because we've had decades to screw up the world. And we have made a little progress no matter how many barricades or how many demos you go to. And it really is a generation that is watching now. It is all of you. It is your responsibility. And I hate to say that we have downloaded it onto you now, but it's yours to drive forward with independence, thought, passion, awareness, and to take on these problems. We will do our best from our spectrum, but it's yours now.
You hear that, ladies who are watching? It's ours. Okay, so you guys are a super fun cast, which I can tell. And so I wanted to kind of switch gears a little bit and have you all kind of talk a little bit about maybe, because this just popped in my head because you guys were talking about some fun experiences while shooting. So I'm sure lots of your fans would love to know what was some of the, like, one really memorable or fun or hard or funny experience. I'm sure a lot of them have to do with RH now that I've talked to you guys separately.
Literally.
If you guys have any favorite experiences you want to share with everyone.
I want to talk about Amybeth, who would not deal with the fact that her toes were freezing in her shoes.
I was about to bring this up too.
In the snow. And they go, come on, get some boots. Come on. Take those boots away from the costume people and let's figure it out so you can have warm feet. I mean, it's as basic as that.
I was having too much fun. I was going to talk about the Atlantic Ocean in October.
Yeah.
That's a good one. A fun story? Is it fun?
We
were very cold.
Fun.
The Atlantic Ocean for the swimming scene in October was this woman, Amybeth, who was not complaining, who by the time we got to take number 6 in the water was shaking so violently before the next shot in which she had to go underwater and come out. I thought, no, this is it. You are too cold. The grown-ups out there who are running the set, they got to know that it's over. This young woman is shaking with cold too fiercely. And so I just picked her up and said, we're done. We're out of the water.
Walked me back. It was a great moment though.
You're like her real life dad. I love that.
Oh,
like,
no, literally. He was not letting me continue. I was like, I want to do another take. He was like, no, I have you now. We're going. But I was like, okay.
You know, this scene in the first season when the house burnt down.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. It was something like minus 48 degrees. All night long. Remember that night? I mean, I know we're talking about jolly moments, but my goodness me, that was a moment and a half.
That was wild.
In my whole life. And having your face freezing in the cold.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and then you have to act. And if you look at the scene, it's quite funny. There's Dalila screaming at Amybeth going in to save, and all of our faces are completely fixed and iced in, and you're sort of trying to act through this.
I remember when the house was burning down, us actors were pretending to throw buckets of water on it to put the fire out. And of course, we were all doing acting, you know, panic acting and run acting and bucket acting. And there were about 6 real firefighters there who would make sure that the house really didn't burn down. The expression on their faces, the real firefighters, as they watched us, the fake firefighters, it was really, really delicious.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. It sounds like shooting in Canada is just a bucket full of weather horrors. I heard about bugs earlier.
About weather, actually.
Oh yeah.
All very cold. That's
wet.
Well,
last year was so wet.
Yeah.
There was one scene where the location was underwater. So they kept saying, no, we're going to shoot it next week. No, we're going to shoot it next week. And they kept moving. We eventually shot it, and they had to change all the greenery. All the trees had opened up, and they shouldn't have done. So it was that was challenging.
I always remember that one time during season 1, AB, you remember when we had to walk, it was the scene, I think it was episode 7, where we were walking in the snow going to the schoolhouse. And the snow was so uneven that we kept bouncing up and down when we were walking.
Oh, yeah.
Not only was it freezing cold, so it was hard to talk, but we both had to try so hard not to laugh because we kept seeing the other go up and down, up and down.
What was the scene with Yumi? I think it was Corey, where we're like walking out of the abandoned shed, and all of a sudden, like, the camera's on us, and we turn, and like we're talking, and all of a sudden I turn, and I don't see Corey, and I just look down, and he slipped and just like completely gone out. We kept going, and so it was
Yeah, we had to keep looking at the spot where he used to be.
Literally, just pretending he was there and he was on the floor. And we were like,
And he was trying hard not to laugh because he fell, and he was just there just looking at the both of us like, oh my God.
It was beautiful.
It was great.
This is good. This is good for me to hear, because watching the show and seeing how beautiful the landscape is all the time, I'm always like, why do I not live like way up north in Canada? Firstly, Canada seems like a great place to live, so there's also that. But it's beautiful, and I'm here in Southern California, and hearing these stories makes me realize I also have it good, because you know. Well, it's really great. I have one last question while we allow everybody to get their questions in. So just a quick reminder, if you guys have any questions for the cast, now is your time. Put it in the chat, and then when I switch it over to Ingrid, she'll try to get to as many of those as we can. But I'm sure that the cast would love to hear from you guys. So definitely ask some questions. Last question for everybody is, Anne uses such big words, right? Everyone comments on that. Even myself, like watching it, I'm like, whoa, I don't know that word. I'm gonna have to look that up, which is great because it's an educational tool. And I love that this show is geared for a younger generation and giving them beautiful words to focus on. So I want to know, every single person here, every single cast member here, what is your favorite, and with an E, vocab word?
AB, do you want to go first, since
I'm literally trying to remember my lines. Like, the amount of times I'd sit down and start learning my lines and go, oh, I need to Google this. I don't know what this means. There's so many. How can I not remember any of them?
I have two that I can think of right now. Puerile, which means childish, and pariah, which means outcast.
When does she say puerile? I don't remember her saying puerile.
It's a moment. It might have been season 1 or season 2.
Maybe.
I don't remember when. Pariah is the one that I remember distinctly because it was from season 1, where we're walking and you're saying like, "Oh, I'm a pariah."
Yes, yes.
Oh, true.
I remember that. I don't remember when you said puerile though, but I just remember looking at the script and going, "Oh, it's that word." Looking it up and being like, "Puerile. I like that word."
I just learned that. Yeah, I didn't know that word.
Yeah.
Either. It's a great word.
She has so many. I just
has
say
so
glorious
many.
all the time as well. Glorious, like scope for the imagination and all that kind of stuff. And also saying sorry, which isn't an N word, but saying it in a Canadian accent, I had the most fun with. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many.
Because the great thing about her is that she'd use language. She'd use even very ordinary words, but put them in a way that makes them extraordinary. So I love the scene where she says, "Isn't it a wonderful world where there are Octobers?"
Yes.
And that is just a wonderful thing to say. I don't know what the literal line is, but it's something like that.
It's
So
not
it's making ordinary words extraordinary as well as using extraordinary words.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
RH, do you like words?
I adore words. I adore words. You should know that Amybeth and I were known to each other as it and it also. So we boiled it down. But I'm going to drive the other direction. And maybe it's a guy thing, but what word was never said in 3 seasons was manure. And I know that sounds a bit odd, but we were working on a farm. We lived on a farm. We spent our morning shoveling it. We never actually mentioned it. We never actually saw it, and the word never appeared. And I'm like, wait a minute, if we're on a really working farm, where's that word, you know? I thought, oh, you city dwellers should know about this.
Oh,
you'd think that word would be thrown
Am I
around.
crazy? Yes, I am.
No. That's great. I love that. Manure, guys, look it up. It's
fact of the day.
Yeah, no, that's really great. I agree with you, Geraldine. I love also when you take the word, even the word wonderful, which we all use so frequently. You know, everyone uses wonderful to really describe everything. Like, you have a nice cup of tea, you're like, that's wonderful. A nice thing or a good thing happened in your day, like that's wonderful. When you actually think what wonderful means, something that is full of wonder. Wonder has such a heaviness to it. Like there's such like a mythology to the word wonder. And not that I don't think people should use it more often, but if they're going to use it, I think they should understand that what they're really saying is something is full of wonder, which is very, very different from just saying like, cool, that was wonderful. It's different. They're different. And I love that the show is kind of putting that back out there into our
I want to add that Anne's power and imagination with language is also her creating of her own world that she created because she was so hurt, because she was alone. She uses language to create this world. And a bit of a tangent segue is that I just met a young 20-year-old Ukrainian Canadian woman. Her name is Anya. She was adopted at age 18 from an orphanage in Ukraine by 2 older Canadian couple.
Wow.
A neighbor contacted me, said, you got to know about this Anya, because she's watched the show like 7 times. But here's a young Ukrainian woman from an orphanage until she's 18, who suddenly moves in with a mother and father adopted that she doesn't really know at all, who are in fact much older. And the story of Anne with an E is her story, and she's Ukrainian, and she calls herself Anne with an A. And she is slowly learning to speak English because she now speaks in Toronto. And the part of the way of learning to speak English is listening to the words that come out of Amybeth's mouth. And because Amybeth and Anne has that kind of wealth with language and imagination, there's a story of a young misfit. She's now 20, Anya. Last name is Shevchenko. And I just think it's such an important way for people to relate to imagination, place, identity, purpose, and all of that is through language.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, agreed.
Incredible.
She's got such a leg up. What a great vocabulary she has.
Yes.
Mhm.
Learning from Anne with an E. That's incredible. Well, you guys have been really delightful to talk to. I very much appreciate you taking your time out of your days today. I think that it's a conversation that is uplifting, inspiring, which we all kind of need right now, I think. So, so thank you very much. I'm going to hand it back over to Ingrid, and she's going to get to some of your fans' questions. So, Ingrid, back to you.
Thank you, Emma. So we have a lot of questions on Facebook. We have over 1,000 comments and questions. So the first one that we see here is, will there be a season 4? A lot of people have asked, will there be a season 4?
No.
No.
I see your eyes.
That's a horrible way to put it.
Yeah.
There's a petition out there that has reached 600,000 signatures, and they want that season 4. So
Yeah, unfortunately, we do not really have that knowledge. To our knowledge, season 4 isn't going to be happening, but yeah. I'm very sorry, everyone.
I really don't think it is going to happen. I mean, I know the sets have all been taken down. You know, the Green Gables isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
I'm very sad. I'd love to have done a bit more.
But I was told that they kept the hero costumes.
Oh.
Because I was trying to get my leather coat, and they said, no, that's part of the hero costumes. So
yeah, because they gave me the other belt, because I took like a belt and all sorts of stuff. But
I've got my belt. I've got my Marilla belt. But I think the costumes are for that's for exhibitions.
Oh.
It's for exhibitions. They go around and say, you know, they've kept all the main characters' one of their costumes, except my belt. But that, I think that's what that's for.
Okay.
We have a question from Jasmine. She's asking, what do you have in common with the character you represent?
too much. Way too much. Like, I don't know when to stop talking. I read too much. I'm very opinionated. But I also think that's because I've played her at such a young age and for such a long extended period of time that I feel like so much of us just got entwined, and now I don't know what's me and what's Anne, and I've just kind of accepted the mesh. So yeah, a lot of new things that I've put into myself.
I think Diana's kind of compassion and perceptiveness in regards to the people that she loves and cares for, that is something that I myself, it's part of my personality. So yeah, I think that's one of Diana's aspects that are part of mine.
I had huge battles at the beginning because I found Marilla so unforgiving and so rigid and all the rest of it, and I fought and I just said, can't I be slightly nice to her? And they just went, nope, you cannot, until then Anne breaks through and finds the real Marilla. And by the third season it was great because she had such extraordinary depths of range that I could explore with her. I loved it. I loved playing her once we sort of got moving. And RH is Matthew.
Completely.
There is no way. There's nothing between them. There's nothing.
Not even a little bit.
Just.
I rarely talk. I say very few words.
Mm-hmm.
As Matthew.
As Matthew.
Don't get me going.
We have some actors in the room and they're asking, what is the process you guys go through to memorize the scripts? And greetings from Venezuela.
Oh,
lovely. I don't know if anyone else wants to take this out, but it's a lot of work.
You had most of the words.
It's a lot of words. Yeah, I mean, for the audition to begin with, it was, a 4-page monologue. Is the scene with RH in the buggy talking about wanting to be a bride and all that kind of stuff. So I remember getting the self-tape to do and going, oh, that's a lot. And that never changed for 3 seasons. But I think also it taught me so much about myself that I was able to accomplish that. And now in roles that I've done since then, I kind of open the page and go, where's the monologue? Where is it? But again, with Anne's beauty of language, it was quite easy, and with Moira's writing, I found it flowed really well, and I really got in the rhythm of it. But yeah, for me, repetition. And I don't read with other people. I just read it myself and kind of start learning other people's lines above and below. Yeah, repetition for me.
Yeah. For me, what I typically do is I'll grab the scene and I'll just read the entire scene through over and over and over again a couple times. And then I'll go in and I'll read the character's lines, and as I'm going down the scene, I'll block my own line so then I can't read it and I'm forced to. Yeah, yeah. I'll sometimes read with someone else just to make sure, like, pacing wise, especially if I need to cut someone off. I gotta remember, like, okay, you know, if they gotta say wait but, and I need to immediately come in, rehearsing it with someone else typically helps with that. But yeah, that's kind of my process.
I never had a problem because I had very few lines.
I'm so jealous.
But because this is an actor that talked, I mean, thank you for the actor. I think it's a very good question. I will do a play in which I have a 2.5-page speech that could be almost nonsense, and that will take me 8 weeks to learn. And it becomes a long process of learning the thoughts and not the words. You're not learning words, you're learning thoughts. And when you can when you have learned the thoughts, then it's like being able to ride a horse without no longer thinking what you're doing with your heels and your hands. You just ride where you want to go. And so if you've actually inhaled the thoughts of what you are going to say, then the words will be free to come. So that's my way to learn.
And I do think learning lines it uses a part of the brain that's actually a muscle. So I do think the more you do it, the easier it becomes. I think it's much harder to come in to a scene like one of our scenes in Anne with an E and to just have a couple of lines.
Yes,
is much more difficult than those of us who sort of talk and talk and talk. And I like to keep practice, you know, I like doing plays in the theatre as often as possible, so that I have to keep going through the process of learning lines. I find it it'd be so frightening to suddenly not be able to do it anymore.
Amy is asking, did you guys get to keep anything from the set? And I think you answered that. Geraldine did. Anybody else? Did you get to keep
I asked, I don't know if you guys remember season 1, where I'm talking to the Snow Queen, and I have the curtain like over my head, and it's that beautiful. So I stole that. And on the last day on season 3, I went in through Anne's drawers and took a few like bracelets and shells, and I have one of Matthew's marbles that RH helped me steal from the set. Thank you very much. I have Anne's boots. I have her belt. Yeah, I just stole the things that were really important to me, that I thought were really stylish.
I have the picture of Anne that Corey did, Cole did, that gets burnt, that he tries to put in the fire when he's chucking all his stuff. I've got that little picture, which I've got in my little study at home, which is very nice.
I got nothing. I got only memories.
I'll send you your marble.
Marble.
That's nice. Question on Facebook for Delilah. Did you decide to move to LA to help with your acting career?
Yes, actually, I was born in Montreal, Canada, and at around 5 years old, I decided that I wanted to become an actress. And when I was working, I did my very first commercial there. And then my parents, they were like, you know what? At that time, Vancouver, Canada was very big acting-wise, so we went over there. I stayed in Vancouver for around 6 years, building up my acting career, building up experience. And then when I was around 11, 12, I got hired for Odd Squad, which films in Toronto. So then I was in Toronto for 15 months, working there, building up experience. And then at the end of that, then my family and I, we were like, you know what? We want to try going to LA and working there for auditions and such. So we went to LA, and yeah, I've been working here since, living here, doing auditions. It's been good, yeah. So I moved here for my work, yeah.
Thank you. So I just want to pause here and let you know, to a wonderful guest, there's so many messages of love so many. So they love you. They're saying hi from Brazil, from Argentina, from France, from the Philippines. And they're saying so much love to you guys. They really love you, and they feel anxious to see you. Yeah. And one person asked, what are you doing during the quarantine right now? What is your activities, or favorite activity?
A lot, actually. I mean, stuff like this, which is incredible and very, very fun. I'm currently writing a few skits with a friend of mine that we are filming. God knows if they'll ever go anywhere. Don't expect anything. But they're quite fun to do. Going, trips to the lake, little bike rides, trying to stay calm, and I'm reading a lot as well. Trying to educate myself on everything that's especially happening in the world at the moment, and doing what I can to share that stuff, which I think is really, really important. Yeah, that's what I'm up to.
Yeah, I've mainly been spending a lot of time with my family. We'll like watch movies, watch TV shows, play board games. And I've also been, I'm trying to break into the music industry as well. So I've been writing songs, which hopefully will come soon, doing covers, which I will be doing soon as well, posting on my YouTube. So look out for that, guys. Which, by the way, reminds me, hola todo el mundo, bonjour tout le monde. Want to say hi to the fans. Yeah, and reading. I've been reading. I've always been a bookworm, but now that I don't have to like go on set, or I don't have to actually like go to auditions, I've been reading a lot, like I used to before I got really busy with acting. So
can you actually give us like one title that you've read that you like, because we have that question in the chat box right now. They've asked if you can recommend books to read.
One of my most favorite books, and a book that I believe that everyone should read, is Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Yeah. It's really big book, really big, about big. But it's huge, but its message, I recommend reading it. I wasn't able to find it in the original French, but I'm going to look for it. I unfortunately had to read it in English, but get in French, guys, because Alexandre Dumas, amazing writer. But its message, I don't want to spoil it too much, but the way he wrote it and the way that he broke down just the human mind and human emotion and how we all deal with the situations around us based on our experiences was eye-opening. And by the end of the book, you're just sitting there like, oh my gosh, that was an experience, a journey. And yeah, so that Count of Monte Cristo, read that one. Amazing book.
I've just read a wonderful book called Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, an Irish writer. And it's a sort of imagined story of Shakespeare and his wife and family, and the death of his twin boy, Hamnet, the year before he wrote the play Hamlet. And it's completely imagined, but it's wonderful writing. It's incredible, wonderful book. And I've been gardening and growing vegetables for the first time in my life, which is good fun.
Yeah, actually, Mary is asking you a question. For Geraldine, do you also like baking in reality, like your character?
I'm not like Marilla. I've managed one sourdough loaf the couple of weeks ago. It nearly did me in. It's such a palaver making this bread with.
I'm reading quite difficult, but okay. I apologize to everyone there. I'm reading a very activist book. It's George Monbiot, and he is really talking about all the issues that we're trying to deal with. But the reason I bring it up here is that if you read nothing of this book, read the first page, because he says something about the importance of getting the story right. That unless you get the story right, nothing will follow. And Anne with an E is all about getting the story of your life, the story of your live, the story of how you grow up. And that's why the storytelling for me within Anne is so important to be adding to the kind of the vapor out there. Anyway, it's George's book, Out of the Wreckage.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for the recommendation. Yeah, this is great. We've come to almost the end of our show, our program today. Just want to ask every one of you here, Amybeth, Geraldine, Dalila, and our age, if you have anything else you would like to add or share to our audience that has been also in lockdown, confined in many different countries, and they came, you're sharing so much love, you're inspiring, and they're so grateful. If there is anything that you'd like to add before we close.
I mean, I know it isn't about Anne at the moment, but I think just because there's so many of you here, I know that you're seeing everything that's going on in the news right now. And I just want to send love to everybody who's hurting at the moment. And I hope that you're all doing okay and that your mental health is well with everything that's going on with quarantine. And I know it's really, really difficult. I think everybody's feeling it. And I just hope that we can all find comfort in the fact that we are going through a very similar situation together. And that if you see things online, to share what you can and do what you can to help those and donate or anything. Yeah, I just want to send love and just make sure everybody's okay, you know.
And isn't it incredible to know that every single country in the world is going through this? It's
exactly.
Absolutely everybody, every human being is experiencing this. And you know, love to everyone, and let's hope it's over soon and we deal with it sensibly so that it goes.
And I would add, in those countries where people are turning up at 7 o'clock and 7:30 and banging pots and pans, for the healthcare workers, for the nurses, for the doctors, for the PSWs who are going into these dangerous situations every day for nothing but our health, and they've done it for 2 months and they're going to do it for longer. But the health workers are incredible, the stress and the strain they're under.
Yeah.
So go bang your pots.
Strong, everyone. Okay, it's been really, really tough, not only with quarantine but with everything that's been going on, like Amybeth said, in the news and such with the mental health. Take care of your mental health. Fight for what you believe in. Never stop fighting, because when we unite, we are strong. So, yeah.
Thank you. This is a beautiful way for me to close. When we unite, we are strong. Thank you so much, Dalila. Let's give them, I know everybody's muted, but we have a way on Zoom to give them a big round of applause. And we do this. I think you can see them all. So
That's so cute.
Thank you so much, everyone. I have added the social media of our guests in the chat box on Zoom. So please follow them, keep up with their career and their stories. They were amazing. Now you have many reasons to watch all 3 seasons of Anne with an E. Thank you again to Geraldine, Dalila, Amybeth, and our age for taking the time to talk to us and to talk to your fans around the world. It's been really, really important for us to do this every Friday. So I really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your time. And especially in the US, it's been a very difficult time. Thank you, Emma, for making it a really great conversation. She's wonderful. She takes time to watch every single show and many seasons of each show every week. So thank you for your work, your time, and she's really been lovely, giving friend throughout this time. So I really want to thank her again. And also I want to give a special thanks to your managers and agents, because they've been wonderful, to Rose, to Darcy, to Amy and Alfred for your cooperation during this week. Again, it's been a very tough week for us, so they've made it really easy to work with, and really I can't thank them enough. Please join us next Friday, June 12th, for another episode of Chelsea Film Festival Talks TV series. It might be a different format considering the time we're living in. We might do an open forum about what is going on in the world right now, specifically with the situation in America. So please join us next week on Facebook and also on Zoom. We will be sending you all the information and posting on the different pages on social media. Thank you all so much. So grateful for your presence, and I hope you have a beautiful weekend. and I'll see you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you. So
Thank you
Bye-bye.
Stay safe,
Bye.
everybody.
Soon, guys.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Thank you to
Bye.
everybody who joined today. Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Lots of love.